Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. B.K. Goswami is a retired IAS officer and chairman of International Chamber for Service Industries. Next up, I'd like to invite Shri Sudhanshu Pandey, the Joint Secretary of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, to give us an overview of the service industry. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Sudhanshu Pandey.
Respected Commerce Secretary, Mrs. Rita Teotia, respected Shri B.K. Goswami, with whom my association goes almost 25 years. Respected Shri P.K. Datta, former Chief Secretary, my colleague Mr. A.M. Singh, all other dignitaries on the dais, and good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen. Let us tell you first why we are here. It's very important for you to get the right perspective, because the 2-day session, the way it has been structured, you must have gone. It covers about 6 sectors on which we are trying to focus. What is the objective behind it? How it is started? In the Ministry of Commerce, it started about 2.5 years ago, when we organized the first National Services Conclave in November 2013. The idea was that while the merchandise exports had a very peculiar trend, means you had almost inelastic imports, you had energy requirement, you had gold requirement, so there is no way you can beyond a point reduce your imports. On the other hand, your capacity to export goods in view of the limited manufacturing available in India was very limited. And we saw that gradually, if you see 2000 onwards, then the average tariff rates across the world, they have come down. And in all the developed market now, the average tariff is around 4-5%. We still in India, we were around 11-12%. And we are finding that our export are getting new and new barriers in various markets abroad. Roughly about $150 billion of deficit that we were having was almost 50% compensated by the exports from the services sector, which very few were noticing. In last about 5 years, from 2009-10 onwards, when we were just about $131 billion of services export industry, I'm just talking about the exports. Last year, we touched 157 billion. And this year, when the exports overall on the mercantile side, they were registering negative growth, both in the growth term as well as in the absolute terms. The services export, despite slowdown in the market overall, globally, still registered positive growth. Within the country also, if you see, the service industry today is more than about 53% as per the revised series. Out of which, if you again see and analyze, there are about 28% jobs are getting created in the service industry, which is a big number. The growth globally, if you analyze your domestic growth and the global growth, that in all major economies, you are roughly about between 75% to 80%, which is contributing to the GDP, to the respective national economies. China, which was doing so well on the mercantile side, 3 years ago, they foresaw that the goods export sooner or later will have some problems. And in 2011, they started for the first time the China International Services Fair. And their idea was that they will be focusing on the growth of the service sector, which was still less than 50% in Chinese economy. And in 3 years' time, they have remarkably recovered in some of the major provinces and state governments, city governments, simply by focusing on the service industry, have done commendably well. And now Beijing city is nearly 78% in terms of its contribution to the city GDP in China, which was less than 60% a couple of years ago. The point one is trying to make is that when the economy in other areas is not growing that well, service industry still promises huge potential of growth. And when the growth is there, the jobs will be there. And from there we started in 2013, and thereafter in 14 November again we organized second services national conclave. Commerce Secretary is chairing one of the inter-ministerial group in the ministry, where all sectoral issues concerned with all other service industry related ministries, they are addressed. We also noticed that even within the ministries and in the state government, there is not enough orientation on service, because service largely is in unorganized sectors, and whatever is happening despite or in spite of the government. But if we can provide policy support, we can identify gaps, we can actually make this industry grow by leaps and bounds. This is what is the purpose with which we have assembled in Guwahati, focusing on all the northeastern states, their potential, their mobilizations. Today in the first half, when we will be discussing what is strategy for the service industry we should be devising. Whatever points emerge during the discussions, and if they have inter-ministerial connotation, certain issues need to be resolved, or we need to work in tandem with various ministries, or we will coordinate that in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry through the inter-ministerial group. We also thought of sharing some important schemes with you, and that is why we have brought the Services Export Promotion Council, one of the export promotion council which is not that well known. But this is one body through which the northeastern service industry can take benefit. We sponsor through Ministry of Commerce's support under NER-ASEAN scheme participation of various service industry associations and the industry itself to various international events across the globe. It depends which area interests you, where you see potential for your industry. We would be more than happy to put together your participation in those international events. Because from there, the first barrier of market access is broken, B2B business meetings are facilitated, and that is how the business grows. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure the 2 days are going to be very meaningful, very exerting for all of us. But we don't want to end merely with a seminar or workshop. We want to take an agenda. This is the beginning. From here we want to take an agenda where certain issues for certain industry will be identified, on which either some decisions in the government would be facilitated, or in conjunction with the industry, if required, some capacity development programs will be organized in due course of time. This is also not going to be one-off event. We propose to institutionalize this once in a year so that we can take stock of what has happened during the year, the issues which were identified, how much we have progressed. In April, just 2 months from now, we will also be organizing the second global exhibition on services in New Delhi. This is again part of the Services Conclave initiative. After conducting 2 national conclaves in 13 and 14, from 15th we decided that the conclave and the real exhibition of the service industry should get combined. And last year, the 2 events were combined, and this year we continue with that format. Last year, about 60 countries participated from different parts of the world, and this year we are expecting about 80 countries participation. This is a platform which is going to be extremely useful for the North and Eastern Industry Service Associations for their participation and for their own networking. We are in touch with the state government. The state government senior representatives have come also for this meeting. A couple of them met me just before the conference. And I am sure they will also support their industry associations, especially the Service Industry Association, for participation in April event in Delhi. Now, without taking much time, let me promise you that every point which you think is useful needs to be acted upon. Please bring out those points, because we want this event to be action oriented and just the beginning of the action and not an end by itself. Thank you very much.